until I lay down at night.
You seen your moms at anything or your sister?
Nope.
Just ignoring everybody, just
I was
avoiding.
ignoring everybody. Yep. My mom was looking for me for about 4 months. Didn't know
And
where I was.
you had started. Welcome to the show, Siobhan.
Thank you.
So, what is your sober date? You come up on a year, aren't you?
I'm 237 days today.
And no counting though. We're not counting date. Not counting. So, what is your sober date? When is a year for you? Because I'm not good with that math of 237 to 360. What is that 1 year mark going to be?
Yeah, so it'll be May 9th.
May 9th. Okay. So, what was
Yeah.
going on May 8th, May for you of last year?
So around that time, I was getting fed up. I did a freestyle video on Facebook, and like, 'cause I'm a rapper, and I'm crying in the video, but I'm just letting everything out. And I watched the video probably about 100 times. It got shared like probably 20 times, but I watched it personally about 100 times. And I was like, I can't do this no more. I can't. By this day, I was done.
So, you were just at that point of exhaustion then. Because
Yeah,
that's where I
I
was
was
too.
done.
Like I didn't get arrested at the end. I didn't have like a crazy inciting incident at the end. It was
Right.
pure fucking here, just tell me what to do. I don't fucking know. I'm exhausted. I'm gonna die
Mhm.
if I just keep going this way.
Yep.
You know, I can't do this anymore. I was 30. How old were you? I was 31 years old when I did that the first time.
34. I'll be 35 on Friday.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. I just turned 35 this past September, so we're the same age then. So we're gonna really get a like understand each other's references. What was it that was driving your exhaustion towards the end? Because for me, it was pills.
Yeah, I did cocaine and pills, but the cocaine was really what was getting me. Um, I just I just couldn't do it. I have 2 kids, and also I've been praying for a long time for God to just remove that. I wanted to stop, but in my addiction, I just feel like I had to do it every single day to kind of feel normal.
Yeah, you probably weren't even getting high for the last what? How when did you stop? Like I feel like I didn't get high for the last year. I just got even. I just
I
like always got even. I just felt like I do now normal.
Yeah, I could
Like
kind of agree with that. Yeah, I 2013 September is when I started. I
okay,
started back. I relapsed, but the
yeah,
very first time, yeah, I was like 19.
and we'll even flash back to that and we'll get there in a second. So towards the end though, were you sniffing coke or were you shooting coke?
I was sniffing it,
Okay,
and I
you were
was smoking
smoking it and sniffing it.
it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I wasn't an IV person myself. I didn't trust it. You know what I mean? Like I didn't trust myself to try to hit a vein.
I
You
know,
know,
right?
and like it's not like I don't like needles. Like I love tattoos.
Me
It's just a
too.
matter of I was afraid I was just gonna miss and not do it right.
I
And then
know.
plus I was afraid that I would never come back from it.
I know.
I love to snort, dangerously loved
I
to
did too.
snort, and I was afraid that I would never want to snort again. And
Hmm.
and I was afraid to lose that love of snorting because of the high I would never achieve again from snorting.
Right.
So now you said 2013 was a relapse. So let's really, really flash back. Parents together, not together, when
Not
they stop it
together.
together?
They're not together.
Okay.
They
Now
weren't.
when okay. So you grew up with a single mom?
I did. Me and my
Sibling,
sister, my mom. Sorry.
oldest, youngest?
I'm the oldest.
Okay. By how many years?
2 years.
So were you guys close or did you fight like crazy? Because at 2 years is one or the other. There's no happy medium. You either fight like crazy or you're best fucking friends and you're running buddies.
It was kind of the same thing. Like, we were best friends, and then we would fight a lot too.
Okay, I got you. Okay,
Yeah.
so you were sisters then. You were straight up. You were typical teenage sisters or
Yeah.
whatever sisters. So how
Hmm.
was that? And you grew up in South Carolina?
I did in Charleston.
Man, Charleston's that city that's probably been on the show more than any city, and it's crazy. And I love it because it's such a coincidence that I ended up interviewing so many people in Charleston because I've been there once in my entire life, and it was a long fucking time ago. But
Mm-hmm.
it's so funny to me because my higher power, the person that I call my higher power, lives in fucking Charleston.
Really?
Bill Murray.
It's an all
And
right.
what's that?
It's an all right place to be, I guess.
No, yeah, but I'm saying Bill Murray is like a huge like actor, comedian, one of the best
Yeah.
of all time, and he
Mm-hmm.
says fuck L.A., fuck New York, I want to live in Charleston. He owns the baseball team there, the Muck Dogs.
I
Uh,
didn't even know that.
yeah, that's Bill Murray's team. Yep, and that's my higher and I've always called my higher power Bill Murray. It's not that he is my higher power, but I call my higher power Bill Murray. You're not supposed to have your higher power be a person. But it's the idea of the way he lives his life is a very zen life. And
Yeah.
so it's just so funny to me that I ended up talking to so many people in Charleston. It's like I'm getting gravitated to Charleston where my higher power is, and it's a really cool thing for me. Like just like all coming full circle. So you're always born and raised Charleston?
I've always been right here.
Okay, so you're growing up there with a single mom. When did you like discover drugs and alcohol?
I was 18.
Okay, so you weren't one of those like I need to escape right away kids then.
Hell no, my mama would kick my ass.
So you were
My
close
mama
to your
was
mom.
so yeah, and she did not play that. So it was after
So
I graduated. So
uh, so okay, so now after you graduate, it's 2005, 2006, I'm assuming.
yeah, 2006, I was a year behind.
Okay, yeah, so 2006, and now you're graduating. I remember those days,
Mm-hmm.
and you get out. Now all of a sudden, boom! Here's
Yep.
Vaughn, and she's a late bloomer, and she's
Yep.
ready to go.
And green as hell.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, those late bloomers, it's a dangerous thing to, even Tasha has been on here. She was a late bloomer too. You guys have
Mm-hmm.
a lot in common like that. Besides Charleston, you're both late bloomers.
Yeah.
She was, I think, 21, 22 when she got into shit. So,
Oh.
now you're 18. Are you like in school or something? How are you meeting new people? What's going on that all of a sudden, like, you're introduced to all this? Are you putting yourself in those situations or are you ended up in
Mm-hmm.
those? Okay.
Yeah. I put myself in those situations because I was always like kind of like a goody goody. Like I said, my mom, she would kick me and my sister ass.
Good
So it was after
grades.
I graduated. Yeah.
So she was like getting to school. You got to get school done. You got to graduate.
Yep.
So
And
did you get into college too then, since your mom was on you about your grades, or you just didn't
no,
care enough?
yeah, she just kind of just wanted me to graduate. I guess I didn't want to go to college, and she didn't really press it because I always was working since I was like 16. I had
Yeah.
jobs in high school, so she wasn't really pressed on that too much.
No, I hear that. I didn't. And even my brother too. It wasn't our thing. We
Mm-hmm.
knew. I even went to classes for about a year. Like I went to night school. Like I'm the
Mm-hmm.
only asshole that's 18 years old and it's a night school because I have two daytime jobs that I got to make. You know what
Okay.
I mean? And I was living with my parents. And my dad
Mm-hmm.
made really good money. It was not a. I didn't have a reason besides me just being a straight up workaholic at 18 that I was working at UPS at 4 a.m. and I was working at CVS at 10 a.m. every day, that I had to be at school at 6 p.m. every day. And after like a year, I was like, fuck this. I'm just going to
Mm-hmm.
work. These guys are
Yeah.
suckers. Like,
Yep.
it's like they're working in class. I'm just making that money anyway. Fuck that.
Yep.
And I could go. School is important depending on what you're doing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but if you're working in sales and in business, you have to get into fucking business and work, and that's how you're gonna learn your craft. You're not
Yep.
gonna learn that shit in the textbook. Now, being
Right.
a doctor, being a lawyer, there's a lot of things you need school for, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
business shit, like talking to people and
Yeah.
selling shit, you don't need to go to school for. And I was a salesman. You know what I mean, Vaughn? I was a salesman. I didn't need to go to school. So to be that, and that's what
Yeah.
that was where my manipulation came in, though. Me being a master manipulator and addiction came from me being a great salesman already.
Oh,
So
okay.
instead of me selling you on something, I was selling you on a reason why I was manipulating you to give me what I need. So it
Oh,
was a fucked up thing that got rooted into my addiction eventually too, unfortunately. But that was from my story. So now for you, you're interjecting yourself with this crowd, right? Now you're trying to find a new crowd.
yeah. I kind of like I had a boyfriend around that time who he dropped out. So like I was hanging with him, his friends, hanging with some of my cousins who their mom kind of let them do whatever the hell they wanted to do. And I'm fresh out of high school. I'm independent now, so I can do whatever the hell I want to do. I can choose my own friends. I don't really have to listen to my mother, even though I'm in her house. I did what you asked me to do. I graduated. So,
Yeah. Now, when does it go off the rails the first time?
so I happened, the guy I was dating, he did not have a place to live. So when my mom left for work, like that morning, he was getting off because he worked at night. So I would sneak him in. And sometimes I would leave him in the house and I would leave. So just so happened that day I left and I got a flat tire. And I didn't have a way to contact him. And my mom's gonna be home in like 3 hours. What the hell am I gonna do? So I happened to go to one of my friend's house in the neighborhood and she was like 32, 33 years old. So she was more like advanced. I went over there. I'm stressed and I'm like, what the hell I'm gonna do? My mom is gonna kill me if she finds this dude in her house. So she's like, I have something that'll make you calm down. And so she pulls out like this dollar bill and this white substance. Now at this time I have never seen coke. I've never been around anybody who did it. Like I said, I'm green as hell. So she puts it to my nose and tells me to sniff. And I did like maybe 2 1-on-ones, but I feel like I didn't feel anything. Like, okay, I don't feel anything, but I'm sweating,
Yeah,
I'm coughing.
you got something caught in your throat and you don't know what it is. You're like, you're trying to swallow. Damn, what you give me, bitch?
Yeah, so that was
I
the
remember the
very
first time I
first
did line
time.
of coke. I was like 19. You know what I mean? 20 years old. First time I did line of coke, and it might have been just around the same time as you. And I'm like, what the fuck is in my throat right now?
Uh-huh.
Like it feels like I
Yeah,
got a ball in my throat. Like I, I remember that shit.
that's kind
So
of what it feels like. Yeah,
but then it hit you though.
this is the crazy shit because this
You
is
didn't
how
get
the
high again.
devil is busy. Like 2 days before that, my boyfriend, because he would smoke cocaine and weed mixed, so he left like a little bit in my drawer like 2 days before that. So now when I get back home, I just want to see if it's going to be the same thing. Like I didn't feel anything the first time, but I forgot I had some at the house. So
And you had already smoked weed though.
yeah, I was smoking weed. Yeah,
Okay,
I
so
was,
you were already comfortable smoking bud. So
yeah,
okay, that tells me a lot. So that's why I was curious. Okay.
yeah. I had just started smoking weed.
Okay.
So yeah, and then I got home. I got the tire fixed. I got home in time. So now I want to be relieved. I'm like, let me see if this is going to do something. And I felt something like the third time, and that was it.
You know, it's not that crazy to me though, Vaughn, because like I did pills, you know what I mean? I did muscle relaxers and I did painkillers. I did Norco, you know what I mean? Like Vikes and all that shit. And then I did even perks like the tens and all that. But it was this one time that I did them that it took off, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
was like that obsession. It was that high that I needed at the time. And it was that high I craved for 10 years afterwards. And like I had done pills like a lot that summer, but nothing like that was like it was always like a binge. I would be
Mm-hmm.
with somebody and they would have a bunch of pills and I would do a bunch, but just like eating a bunch, no big deal,
Yeah.
and just chilling. And but yeah, it wasn't like I didn't obsess over like, oh, where more? I need to buy more. But it wasn't until a few months later and all of a sudden I got this one high that it was just like off to the races where I just
That was
needed
it.
to chase that high. And so it happens how it happens. So now you get home and you are you by yourself or is your dude still there and you're like smoking this?
I put his ass out.
What do
So
you
he
mean?
would, like when I got there, he was so sleeping. I woke him up and tell him to leave. Like we had an hour before my mom came home, so I was able to experience that by myself.
Okay, so you knew what you were doing then. You knew how to do it. You saw him do it, so you knew what to do.
Yep.
You're green, and it's 2006, 2007. It's not like the internet is what it is today.
Yep.
Because, people are watching it unless they know. And, like, you know. But you couldn't just, like, Google shit as easy. You could get your computer out and you could
Mm-hmm.
Google it, but you couldn't just
Yeah.
take your phone out and Google some shit within a second like you can today.
Oh, hell no. It
And,
didn't work like that.
in 2007, like, it doesn't sound like it was long ago, but it was fucking long ago, technology wise. Like, we've come a
Yeah,
long way. We couldn't even stream anything until
that's true.
2010. We couldn't even
Yep.
stream Netflix. Netflix was DVDs in 2007.
Yep.
They weren't doing streaming. So, a lot has changed in the last 15 years. It's crazy
Yeah.
to think. It blows my mind sometimes to think, right? Like, because we grew up around the same time. So
Mm-hmm.
you saw things like, remember when Wedding Singer came out with Adam Sandler?
I
That,
do.
that movie took place in the 80s, but it was 1997, and that movie takes place in 1987. It's
Mm-hmm.
only a 10-year fucking difference. But when you watch that movie, it
Yeah,
feels like you're in a time machine watching that
it
movie.
does.
But yet
Mm-hmm.
2007 is now 15 years ago.
Damn.
And even remember Dazed and Confused?
Mm-hmm.
Dazed and Confused came out in 1993. It
23.
takes place in 1976. That's a 17-year gap. That's just as
Wow.
fucking long as when
Mhm.
graduated high school.
Yeah, that's a
Again,
lot.
it's not that long if you think about it in that, but it really is long when you compare it, because like that is like, how we grew up and we're watching like the oldies stations were 20, 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The Nick at Nights and the classic rock and the old stations like the Motown and shit. That was only 20, 30 years ago. Now that's us. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
so weird to think about that, but now it's a
I
new
know.
year and then you start doing that math and you're like, damn, we're old.
Hell
Like,
yeah, we getting here. Yeah.
so, you couldn't just Google how to smoke some coke. So you would have to have seen that. That's why I figured you had
Yeah,
saw him, and then you probably marked it in your head like, okay, that's
I
how you do
did.
that shit.
I did.
And when you smoked it by yourself, you said to me 5 minutes ago, you said, I experienced that alone, which
Mm-hmm.
tells me that you had quite the night.
I
Like,
did.
you were ripped and you were probably obsessed with how you felt.
I was like, damn, like it's a feeling that I didn't want to let go. I'll admit.
Yep. It's a
Yeah.
scary fucking thing that people don't
Yeah.
understand unless you've been there, of how our brain rewires when we get a dopamine hit that is so unexpected like that.
Mm-hmm. I was like, what the fuck? And I was hooked after that. I almost died several times getting ready to overdose, like, because I kept wanting the high goes so quick that I don't know that you can't do too much, you know? So,
The shelf life, yeah, with Coke, like the half life, yeah, I know what you're saying. But you can do too much. It's crazy to think about. I know you're gonna understand this reference, but you've seen the movie Blow with Johnny
hmm
Depp. Like, the guy that directed that movie, Jonathan Demme is his name. The director of that movie, he died from a cocaine overdose 2 years later.
what?
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yep. Yeah, the guy that directed that
Wow.
movie, he died of a cocaine overdose. So, and that was early 2000s. But you
Damn.
you don't hear about that shit because he wasn't like a huge name. But it's
Right.
just one of those like little like pieces of trivia that have always stuck in my head, is because he was a great director. I've liked him in other things that he did. And I'm a fucking nerd when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like, oh, this guy directed. I'm a nerd. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, when it comes to TV and movie knowledge. And yeah, when he died, I'm like, oh my god, the irony of fucking
That fucked
that
me up
taking.
just now.
Yeah.
I
So,
never.
yeah, it's crazy to think. I actually had a guy on the show earlier in December, that he is an older dude, that he was actually buying blow from a guy who got it directly from George Jung in Boston in the 80s. Like the dude that was meeting Pablo
Right.
and going back up to Boston. He
Uh-huh.
was selling directly to my guy's dealer in Boston where he lived in the 80s and 70s, getting that fucking fresh blow. I'm like, dude, I would have needed rehab too if I was doing his
I
blow.
know, right?
Doing Pablo's blow. Like, no wonder why you needed rehab. But,
Exactly.
like, damn, bro.
Mm.
So now, do you tell your boyfriend now, like, hey, baby, I just like smoked your shit and I really want more? Because damn, no wonder why you do that.
Hell no, I didn't tell him. I hid it from him, but he found out.
Okay.
I finding out like a couple months later because he
So
found it in the car.
but yeah, but he didn't realize it was missing from your dresser.
He must have forgot about it.
Yeah, it's true.
He
You know
didn't really do it like that. Like he would smoke weed, but the weed and the cocaine it was like every now and that's what I'm saying. He left it with me, so because he knew
that
I
make
wasn't going to do it. Yeah.
that makes sense then. Okay, so
Mhm.
he's just a pothead that all of a sudden sometimes will sprinkle a little coke on.
A little tic tac.
Just a little sprinkle a little coke on. So um
Or
so a couple months into you guys dating, you guys are in the car and what happens?
he has my car. I let him use my car. He comes back with an empty bag. Like, what the hell is this? And then I finally confessed because he's like, I've been acting weird lately, and I think he probably knew something was different. But then I don't even think he cared about me really like how I thought he did because I continued to get high, and he knew. I guess he was like, "Well, I can't stop her," but you didn't talk me out of it either.
Yeah. Well, how much is you guys the same age? You know, you said he had dropped out. I don't know what that meant. Like you guys the same age?
He's like 2 years older than me.
Okay, so yeah, I would consider that the same age. Maturity wise, you're the same
Yeah,
age. You know, women mature faster than men. We know this.
of
So
course.
you know what I mean. You at 18 is like you at 21, and him at 21 is like him at 19. So,
Hell yeah.
so you know, let's be real. So yeah, okay, you're the same age, and so yeah, I could see him just like not co-signing your bullshit, but just being like, okay, baby, just like be careful.
Just
I
be
trust you.
careful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I trust you.
Mm.
Now, did you keep going back to that same friend to be like, hey, you got any more like what did you in North and when I lived in I don't know if it's a southern thing. When I lived in Durham, we called it white girl.
Yeah, white
Okay.
girl.
Okay, that's what I wasn't sure. So did you just go back to your friend and be like, hey, like what was that? Can I get more? How do I get more?
Hell no, I happened to bump into someone who lived closer to me that had it. To be honest, I didn't end up going back to her until I relapsed. Like, hey, why did you ever put me on this shit? You know what I mean? Why would you ever introduce me to that? So I still hadn't even seen her since that first time she introduced me to it.
This
Okay.
podcast is also sponsored by BetterHelp. If you are looking for therapy and not able to get something right away locally, you can do that with them. Within 48 hours, you can find a therapist to get on telehealth with you. I mean, I haven't heard anything but great things from people that have already done it that watch my show or listen to my show. If you're looking to get 10% off your first month, you can go to betterhelp.com/MJsPNPMCA. That is
So you
betterhelp.com/MJsPNPMCA.
go back to her eventually, but anyway, who did you find? You knew somebody already that lived close to you that sold shit.
Yeah, everybody was doing that shit. That's the thing. Like everybody I was hanging around at that time, they were popping pills, they were sniffing coke, they were smoking weed and coke. So it was already right there. It was an easy trap to fall in.
Okay, so yeah, you didn't. Not that you didn't stand a chance, but it was just it became really accessible for you, and you knew everybody that did it. You knew the people that you could hit up, and were you not wasting a lot of money on it, or were you?
Now at this time, I quit my job now because I want to get high all day.
Yeah, but what's
So
your
I
mom
quit.
say when you quit your job? You can't be like, Mom, I quit my job to do some blow, you
She
know.
cut
So
my ass out. She put me out
there
because
she is.
then I started like
That's mama
not
right
even.
there.
Yeah, my curfew was like 3 o'clock. I started breaking curfew. I wanted to do. I want to get high.
3 a.m. curfew.
So
You can't
she
make.
put my.
You couldn't make a 3 a.m. curfew.
I couldn't do it.
Right now, your mama's shaking her head. 3 a.m.
Like
Bond.
3 a.m. That was my curfew at 19 years old, and I was
Nothing good
breaking that
happens
shit.
after 2 a.m.
That is true.
And you're sitting there like, Mom, 3 a.m. is ridiculous. I should at
Right?
least have till 4:30.
Yeah, shit. She put my ass out.
Good for you, Mama. If you're listening or watching, good for you. I salute you for doing that shit because that's what you have to do, though.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what you need to do because if she would have enabled it, you could have went on for longer. The longer you enable someone, the longer they think that they're getting away with something.
That is so true.
And the longer it's okay to get away with it because you're being allowed this, you have this leash, and then the leash gets longer. It's like if you have a dog and and except for when you're letting somebody go, you have the retractable leash. And how
Mm-hmm.
long that's just gonna go for, you
Yep.
know? So where did you go when she put you out?
I went to my cousin's house, and it was on after that. I really could do whatever I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, now you're 19, living on your own.
yeah,
And
19, 20. Mm-hmm.
so what are you like? Because, Coke isn't that cheap. It's not crack.
Right,
Crack is cheap.
right.
So, like, if you're not working and you're 19,
Mm-hmm.
what's going on? You selling? Like, how are you
I,
like affording your
mhm.
habit?
I started stripping, and I started prostituting.
Okay.
Yeah,
And that was at 19?
20. Now I'm 20.
Okay, so you left at 19 and then within like a few months you realized like I got to make some money.
Mm-hmm. I would say it probably took about 6 months for me to really get like at that point to where I don't want to work a regular job because I want to get up whenever I want to. I want everything just to kind of be accessible, easy. I'm like, damn, I should have been doing this. But then I felt empty deep down inside too. Like afterwards, I just felt empty.
Yeah, I mean, how long did you dance for?
A year.
Okay, so from 20 to 21, but the sex work that went on longer
Mm-hmm. It did.
because
It
that
went
was that
on.
was something because if you're at a strip club, you got a boss. You got to be presentable. You got
Mm-hmm.
to have the makeup ready. You got to, not look like you're looking like shit, not look like you're on a 3-day bender. So it's
Yeah.
not as easy to maintain that job if you have to show up at certain times still. Now, if you're doing sex work, you don't have to worry about that as much.
That's true.
And is that what happened basically within
I
a year?
I was doing private shows in hotels so I could strip and I could prostitute. And these were mostly people who I knew, like they would bring their friends.
And
So I
this was
wasn't
and
like
this was Craigslist days too. Let's be real. This is when Craigslist was
exactly.
popping off. This was like late 2000s when if Craigslist was the place to be when it comes
Hell
to that
yeah.
kind of shit.
Yeah,
You
it was.
found parties, you found everything there. You found drugs there. Everything was on that fucking site.
Oh my
And it's
God.
crazy to think about that site now because it's been so long since I've been on it. And it got
Hmm.
it got so rearranged a few years back anyway because of that Craigslist killer or whatever. But like,
Yeah.
I remember that shit, Vaughn. Like, you could literally because when I was in addiction, I wasn't in relationships.
Hmm.
I got into one relationship in addiction. That was my childhood best friend. We were together 3 years, and then she committed suicide. She was bipolar, schizophrenic, and alcoholic. So I didn't want to be in relationships with people because I didn't want anyone to get I knew I was a drug addict.
Right.
I wasn't one of those people like in denial about being a drug addict.
Yeah,
And
you knew.
I didn't want to bring anybody down with me. I wanted to do this.
Hmm.
So I wasn't the kind of person that wanted to have relationships, but I'm still a fucking man that has needs. So
Hmm.
Craigslist. It,
Yep.
it was it was Craigslist. And it was just that's what you did. So I get that. So now you're doing all these parties and you're realizing, oh, I have my own hours, I'm my own boss, and no one can tell me what the fuck to do, right?
I was having the time of my life, kind of, until I laid down at night.
You seen your moms at anything or your sister?
Nope.
Just ignoring everybody, just
I was
avoiding.
ignoring everybody. Yep. My mom was looking for me for about 4 months. She didn't know
And
where I was.
you had already bounced from your cousins then,
Mm-hmm.
because she would have went to your cousins to look for your ass, and then she'd have been like, "Oh, Vaughn's gone,"
Me and my cousin ended up falling out.
because
So I took,
because you were on drugs and being a prostitute,
yep,
and
because
your cousin
I
didn't
was
like
doing
that.
too much. Yeah, I was doing too
Yeah,
much. Yeah.
yeah.
So
How much older is your cousin? How is your cousin, like your age or?
yeah, she was like a year younger than me.
Okay, so your cousin, yeah, all of a sudden she's like, "Yeah, girl, we're partying," and then all of a sudden she's like, "Whoa, what are you doing, Vaughn? You're
Yeah,
taking this way too far."
I was doing too much. We got into it, and then I ended up leaving her spot. So my mom ain't know where I was. Nobody knew where I was really.
Were you motel hopping?
How did you know? Of course I was.
I think you're like the 98th person I've interviewed for this show. So I know the tendencies by now. And I've been to
Yeah,
rooms for years.
yeah.
And you're not trying to pop credit. You're not trying to hop into a place for a year and settle down. You're trying to bounce. But you're trying to stay maintained and staying local so you can always get high. So what do is you motel hop for $30 a day.
Yep.
Listen, like
That
I
shit
said,
is expensive.
no, yeah, I like I said, I know North Carolina, and it was I think 30-40 bucks a day for a motel.
Yeah,
So
back
I would,
then.
yeah, this was like 5 6 no 6 years ago, and I was living down there, so I can imagine it was around the same in Charleston for you.
Uh-huh.
That's like 200 bucks a week,
Mm-hmm.
for that's $800 a month for a shitty apartment, for a shitty studio apartment, you know.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So, but how long does that go on for? Because you said you relapsed in 2013.
Yep.
Now, when did you? Now it's like I'm trying to catch up the math in my head. So it's like 2007 when your cousin
Mhm.
kicks you out,
Yep.
and you are like now motel hopping. How
Mm-hmm.
long does motel hopping and those private parties going on for you before where you stopped the first time?
Probably like 4 or 5 months.
Oh shit. Okay, so you went on until like 2008. Call it.
Almost. Like right at the end, I want to say like October. I ended up leaving the hotel because this dude, like, he flipped on me. This guy was getting ready to, he flipped on me. And then he took half of the money. So he robbed me. So I ended up moving in with a friend now. And then my cousin saw me standing outside smoking a cigarette one day, like another one of my cousins. So he went and he called my mom. And my mom came like, hey, at this time I'm like strung out, I'm skinny as hell, I'm stressed. So she's like, you need to come home. I went home and I got clean. So yeah,
And
that
that
was
was
right before I turned 21.
so that was October 2008.
2000 what 7? Wait, what year is my daughter born? 2008. So yeah, that's what 2007. All this
Okay.
happened like within a year time span.
Shit. So you just like you went hard fast.
I did. I went hard fast. I did.
Now, when you just said when was my daughter born, were you already pregnant when you got clean?
No, I got
Okay.
clean 2007. My daughter was born in 2008 of December. I was already
Uh,
clean by then. Yeah, I
okay.
was.
Okay. So you get home to your mom's, and it's 2007. She drives you out.
hmm
You're not doing coke. Are you drinking? Are you smoking? You're
Nope,
you're you're just abstinent now from all that
I'm
shit.
clean. Yep.
Now, are you going to meetings or are
Nope.
you just so that is I knew there was going to be something. So you were doing it straight up on your own will,
Yeah.
and just like, oh, I'm strong enough to do this. I can do this.
Yeah.
Now, and then you meet a dude, or is this a dude from your previous life that comes back into your life?
I meet a guy, and this so happens now I'm clean. But when I meet this guy, I'm back in the same thing again. He's doing pills. He has coke. I told him I was clean when we met, but then somehow I get back in the same cycle again. So here I am again. But then
How
I get
long?
pregnant. hmm
Okay, so how long was it that you were like clean at your mom's until you met him and you fell off again?
Like 7 months. It
Okay.
was a while. Yeah.
Yeah. And now and then you meet this dude, and so it's easy to be, definitely don't feel bad about it, because if you go back through the episodes, you will hear a lot of other people say, I met this guy or I met this girl.
Yep.
And then it was a wrap from there,
Yep.
So it people, we're influenced. A lot of us are codependent too. So, we're influenced by the others around us that are co-signing our bullshit. And,
Yeah.
now, but when you get pregnant by this dude, you stop again?
I stop. I get clean. So I'm
Yeah.
like, it must be.
I hate to say it's easier, with Coke. But luckily there's no, it's more of a psychosis thing when you're stopping Coke on a dime,
Yeah.
when you're pregnant, as opposed to stopping fucking alcohol or opiates or Xanax,
Hmm.
stopping them is a really dangerous thing on a dime when you're pregnant. A lot of people need to go on methadone just to have a safe pregnancy.
Wow.
So like, yeah, like it's a good thing that like Coke, you can, when you stop it, you go through the mental withdrawals of like the psychosis part of it, but you don't really have like the stomach cramping, keeled over
Hmm.
kind of shit. So that's good. So you stop again, and
I
you had the
stop.
baby. How long after you had the baby do you get back into it though,
So she
or do
was
you stay
born
good for a bit?
5 years. I relapsed after 5 years.
Damn. So you stay good for like 5 years. So you were in 2008, you had your baby, and then 5 years later, you said originally 2013. So 2013 rolls around, you're 5 years clean. You're not working a program, but still you're 5 years clean,
Right.
and you got this 5-year-old girl. Are you still with this
Hmm.
dude? Is this dude still in your life as the baby dad at least, or
Yeah,
no?
just
Is
a
he just
baby daddy.
gone?
We already broke up. The relationship was over.
Just because of coke and shit, or just
No,
because
because
it
of
was
other
my,
shit.
okay, yeah, you and him weren't working, but it
We
was
were.
he was still hopping in though. He's still in the life.
Yeah, he was in my daughter's life.
Okay, cool. Okay, now in 2013, what's going on to where you're just like, I need to do some fucking coke again?
So 2012, I got married. I married this guy, and we got married like after 4 months. So we didn't really know each other, and we kind of like split up. Well, I found out from the same cousin that put me out, like when I was on coke before. We got back close. So she ended up telling me that my husband was fucking one of our cousins. But I don't think that they were having sex. I think they were just hanging out. But at the time when she told me that, like the suspicion, I relapsed. I relapsed. Because I just wanted that pain to just go away. That it was familiar to me. And then another guy I was talking to around the time. We were just friends. He wasn't snorting, but he was smoking the weed and the cocaine. And then I would watch him do it, and then slowly I would take a hit. Now this is going on. I find out that my husband, even though we're not together, that he might be having sex with my cousin. So now I want to get high, and I was back. This time when I got back, this is the third time I went really hard. Like this time almost killed me.
Yeah. And I mean, it's going to go harder this time around because you didn't work a program in between. It's not like you learned anything in between. If anything, all that happened was your disease got stronger in between.
Hmm.
When we quit drugs and alcohol and we don't figure out why we drank and used, all our disease does is it does fucking push-ups and waits for us to relapse and then comes back even stronger.
Wow.
Like when I relapsed, I was with alcohol. I was extremely fortunate that I was so indoctrinated with the rooms and the big book and everything that I had learned that I was still working my steps daily, even in active drinking.
Wow.
Um, and I didn't drink every day. I didn't drink alcoholically in that 9 months. I didn't drink to escape one time in that 9 months
Hmm.
because I was so indoctrinated with the program that I knew if I was drinking to escape, they won and I was an alcoholic.
Oh,
So I was and then all of a sudden, of course, but I am an alcoholic, Vaughn. So there was that time that I did overdrink, and I woke up hungover, and I said, "Fuck it, I'm done again," because I am an alcoholic,
right.
and I quit. But still, if I wasn't indoctrinated with the program, and I was on my own will, I would have done drugs too. I would
Yeah.
have drank alcoholically. I would have went hard. So, and that's what happens with people that I've seen that die on a relapse or they don't make it back into the rooms, is they don't indoctrinate themselves with, learning about their disease and why they
Right.
became the way they became. Once you learn and understand that, more empathy for yourself for if you do relapse, and you can understand yourself a lot better, and you can understand why you used, why you drank. Until you figure that shit out, it is a very dangerous game to play, whether you're using or not. Like you
Or
say clean, I can almost say you were just a dry person for 5 years,
yeah.
you know, and all of a sudden now you start off and you go way hard again
Yep.
because you never learned why you got high. You just now you knew you had a tool to use to get high again.
Right. That's
You
true.
never learned any other escapism tools like
Mhm.
meditation and shit, natural shit, real life shit.
Right.
All you knew was that thing that you avoided because you knew that thing was bad for you and illegal.
Right.
So you just
That's true.
avoided it. It's not like you stopped it because you knew it was bad. It's a different kind of mindset to have. So you go back to this, and and you said you go back to the same girl that you saw 5 years before.
I end up going back to her to confront her this time.
To
I
confront
want
her. Now, did you confront her before or after you relapsed?
after.
So you got high, and then you were so pissed off at this bitch for introducing you to coke in the first place that you went
Right.
back to her house to say, "Bitch, why did you make me find coke?"
Why did you do that? Like, what the hell? Like, even when I was in my addiction, I would never introduce someone. It was my fault, but I just feel like if we were cool, then why would you do
Well, as somebody who has introduced people,
that?
I can tell you it's because I love the way it made me feel. I love the way it helped me feel. I love
Yeah.
the way it made me not think. And if you were looking like I were looking,
Mhm.
and that was my solution to my problems, I'm trying to help you with this is how I fix my problem.
Right. Yeah.
So, I hate to say in her defense, but if she doesn't know a different way for you to feel better, and if that's honestly the genuine way that she knew, she wasn't being malicious, in my opinion.
Okay.
Unless you know otherwise. Unless I'm wrong and she straight up told you, yeah, I was trying to ruin your life, bitch. Ha 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 ha. But I
No,
doubt that. I
I
don't think
never.
that.
Yeah, I
I
never thought of it from that perspective.
Yeah, and I like to play devil's advocate. This is probably someone who's not even that big in your life anymore.
Right.
But if you think about it, you can let that go because she wasn't trying to be malicious. She was literally just being like, "Hey, girl, this is how I do it. I don't know any other way."
Okay.
And then, somebody else taught her that.
Right.
Somebody else taught her that coping mechanism. And then that was the only coping mechanism you knew for a minute.
Mhm. That's true.
So, we know we're a product of our environments. We're a product of the people that have raised us and that we learn from. And so, I hate to say, but for your own sake, right? For your own
Right.
sake of what you've been through in the last 20 years,
Mhm.
you can let that one go
I can let
because,
it.
you know, I don't think she was trying to ruin your life. I think she was literally trying to help your life. In a fucked up
For mine.
way in her
Yeah.
mind of like, oh man, I know exactly how you feel, and this will make you feel. And it sucks because it's a drug, and it sucks because of what happens. But I'm sure if she, is even, paying attention to your story still, and she knows that you're sober now and knows what you've been through, I'm sure she feels horrible for you in introducing. Like, I know I sold a pill to a dude that he had already relapsed, right?
Oh shit.
And he had hit me, and his brother had told me, don't sell to him. And I was buying from his brother, and he's like, don't sell to him. And I'm
Mhm.
like, no, it's okay. And like, this dude's like, no, 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 fuck my brother. Like, I'm already relapsed. You can sell to me. It's fine. And I'm like, all right, whatever, dude. I'm not gonna get in the middle of this. I just need some money. Here, I'll sell.
Right.
I'll sell
Yeah.
you. I'll sell you two. Whatever. It was only two. And then two
Mhm.
weeks later, he was back to shooting dope. Ended up back in jail, and then killed himself.
Oh shit.
So I felt responsible for a while. That, like, I gave him pills. Oh my god. But also, he was going to do what he was going to do, right?
That's
And
true.
he already did relapse. According to him, he might have been lying to me and manipulating me just to get him from me. Who knows? I
Yeah.
don't know, but I'll drive myself crazy trying to figure out an answer that I'll never get an answer to. Why look for an answer when you're not going to find one? All you're going to do is get driven crazy by your own imagination.
That's true.
So, I hate to, take her side, but I know what it's like to be on her side, though. And
Yeah.
I never want to, I never want anything malicious to any. And I sold drugs.
Mhm.
I sold Perk 30s for a lot of years. I sold
Mhm.
Xanax for a lot of years, and I'm not proud of it, but I did what I had to do in that moment to survive,
Right.
and in order to stay high, and in order to, I thought I was helping people. In a sick, twisted thought, I'd rather you see me than some shady person that's gonna beat you for money.
Right. That's true.
That's gonna have some pressed fentanyl in those pills. I'm selling you legit pills from the pharmacy.
Right.
This is the real good shit.
Mhm.
And I'm like, when I say I'll be there in 7 minutes, I'm gonna show up in 7 minutes. I'm not gonna make you wait around like an asshole. Like, I'm gonna answer. I'm gonna be a good dealer. I'm gonna be the one
Mhm.
that answers their phone and shows up on time. And so, like, in a fucked up sense, I'm thinking I'm helping people.
Right.
So it's a real struggle on the other side too. Of, we see people get hooked, and then you feel that responsibility of, like, did I, like, that Steve Urkel effect? Did I do that? You know,
Yeah. I
you look
got
back and you see them all strung out, and you're like, they weren't strung out when I first sold to them.
right.
And then, yeah, you go back to that Steve Urkel, and it's like, fuck. So you go back to this girl in 2013, and you confront her. Did she say anything? Did she, like,
I actually messaged her, um, but no, I never got a response. I haven't spoke to her.
okay, that's fine. And like I said, because
Probably a
she
good
might have,
thing.
yeah, it probably is, and she might have got your message and felt so guilty.
Yeah.
If I would have got a message like that, I would have been like, oh my god,
Uh-huh.
I would have felt horrible.
Yeah.
So, now, you said it was on again, like, once you got back into it,
Oh hell yeah, it was on real
you
hard now.
broke up with your husband.
Yeah, we broke
Okay.
up. Yeah,
And where's the 5-year-old? Is she with your mom, or is she with you, or is she with the dad, or?
she's with her dad's mom. I'm back and forth working. So yeah, I had space and opportunities to do these things because I didn't really have her like right there under me. So
Yeah, because you didn't have to worry about, like, getting her to school on time.
right, I just had to worry about going to work at
And
that time.
what were you doing for work?
I was managing at the gas station in Mount Pleasant.
Okay. And is that overnight hours?
No, it was early morning shift. Like
Okay,
I
so
had to
you
be
had
there like
first shift.
5. Yeah, 5 in the morning. I would be dog tired. Like wouldn't even had slept,
Yeah.
fucking up, like making mistakes. Yeah.
And now you're, how long were you at that job before you had your relapse?
Mm, it wasn't that long. It was probably like 5 months.
But you're making decent money,
Yeah, I was making decent money.
and then you had a relapse. How fast do you run out of that money with that relapse?
To be honest with you, it just seemed like I always had money for it. I swear, it seemed like I always had, but I was making pretty good money.
Okay, so you didn't have to get back into some shady shit. You were able to
Nope.
afford your habit with working at the gas station.
And that's what made it even worse.
Yeah, it does. Where are you living at?
I was living in West Ashley. I had my own place. I
So
had my vehicle
you were able to afford your own place and your own vehicle and your blow.
and my habit. Yep.
Were you drinking too?
I was drinking. I started drinking when I was what, 23. I started drinking beer.
Oh, okay.
Never really like liquor. I never been a liquor person. But I started drinking beer like
Hmm.
23, 24. So yeah, I'm drinking a little bit, not heavily. I'm just really wanting to just get high more than anything.
Okay. Now but you were drinking, but you still had no urge to get high. Like you did have an
Hmm.
urge, but you knew that you couldn't get high.
Right. And my
You
when I
would
was
drink a beer and then you'd be like, man, this isn't hitting it. This isn't what I'm looking for. And like, so now when you got picking and basically how long does that run for where you can get away? Let me rephrase this. How long do you get away with pulling the wool over people's eyes that you're back on coke? You know what I mean? How long are you
Ooh,
able to fool everybody?
years. This time,
That
years.
now this time, Von's like, I'm almost 30. I'm a grown woman. I know how to lie. I know how
Yep.
to manipulate. I know how to fool you, and I'm gonna get you.
It was
You're not
years.
gonna get me again. I was just
I
some
yeah,
19-year-old girl last time. No wonder I got caught. I'm a woman now.
exactly.
I got this shit. I know that's a whole different confidence though. When you can pay your listen, I was a functioning addict for 10 years. And when you're
Hmm.
a functioning addict, you get this like confidence
That's
about
what it was.
you show up. People, I talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, I didn't go to family reunion. I didn't go to functions, parties. I didn't go to holidays. I did.
I
I
did
showed
too.
up." So, no wonder why people didn't know I was, because I wasn't that emaciated drug addict. Even though I was on opiates for a decade, I was still a
Hmm.
heavy guy. A bigger frame guy.
Yeah,
You would never look at me and be like, "Oh man, you're on drugs." I
exactly.
ironically, the only year that I was like healthy weight, like a really like in shape weight, was 2011, and I wasn't on pills that year.
Wow.
The year I wasn't on pills was the year I dropped the weight and I was really healthy. And then I was living with my buddy Jeremy in Massachusetts, and we wrote a script together. Like I was living
Hmm.
my best life. I was drinking, but not alcoholically. I was just more of a party kind of a drinker. And I would smoke weed, but not like in a bad way. It was just
Hmm.
like a long day of work, smoke a bowl, go to bed kind of thing, and
Hmm.
or like smoke a blunt after work kind of deal, like go on a blunt ride and go to bed. It wasn't like malicious. But yeah, when I got back to Jersey, two of my best friends got into a really bad car accident on Christmas Eve on 2011. They almost died. And that was like my excuse to leave Massachusetts to be like, I got to be close to my friends.
Hmm.
And I get back to Jersey, and within a month of being back down there, I get back into pills again.
Damn.
It was a wrap. And then I gained all the weight back and everything. So, like, when my family was seeing me, I was just a sweaty fat dude, who you're supposed to be sweaty if you're a fat dude. So it wasn't like I was sweating I was sweating because I was on pills, but they
Right.
just
They
thought I
didn't know.
was sweating because I was a fat dude. So, and right now, if you're in my family and you're watching, you're laughing because like what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
Like you remember that 2011 when I was skinnier. I wasn't on drugs then. That was the year I was not on drugs. It's so fucking weird to think about, Vaughn. The way the shit that we do, through the years, like it's so to look back.
I
Oh,
know.
and even this, we're grazing over shit, and that's the thing is
Hmm.
like even talking in long form, you can't hit everything.
Hmm.
So you're doing this for so long, you're hiding it.
Yeah.
What does it hit the fan, and when does it hit the fan?
Everything hits the fan last year. It hits the fan.
COVID.
Somebody no. I had somebody who was in my house that I was cool with, and they took a picture of me taking a bump. Now, I had people who would know that I would buy from, or like my friends. My parents knew because I told my parents, because just in case if anything happened to me, I wanted them to know what I was doing. Like, I'm just not ashamed to tell them, like, hey, I'm back on coke. I'm doing pills. I'm living kind of wild. But besides that, like the jobs, I got it working in two different banks. I'm working on a
Yeah.
car dealership. I got like in another relationship and got engaged. So like nobody knew that this person took a picture of me, and that's when everything hit the fan. Because that's the proof right there. Like, what the hell? She's back on drugs? So
Why they take a picture of you, you know?
that's the thing I still don't know. Like, when I did confront them about it, even in my sobriety, I just keep getting denial. But my dad ended up telling me about it. That's how I knew it was true, because the person, they showed one of my kids' fathers, and then that person told my mom, but my mom already knew. So she told my dad, but no one told me.
This
Like, hey,
episode is sponsored by MJ's Progress Not Perfection Meeting Center Association. We are in our meeting center where we do all these meetings for mental health and addiction. I can do this podcast anywhere. I can do this at home. I can do this in a closet. I can do this in a basement. It doesn't matter. All I need is somebody else to talk to about addiction and recovery. What I can't do from anywhere is help people with their addiction and their mental health problems. So if you can help out, we do have a Venmo, we have a Cash App, we have a PayPal, we have an address you can send a check to, and, all the money that gets donated goes towards rent, goes towards keeping the lights on, and goes towards keeping the internet on. So please, if you can give $5, $10, $20, it doesn't matter. Anything you can is so appreciated. And if you are a local business, if you're a national business, whatever, and you want to be a part of what we're doing, you can reach out to me and we can talk about how you can be a sponsor. But I'll let you get back to the episode.
So now, when you get caught up with this picture, now does it get sent to your mom and dad? You said.
yeah, I don't know what the hell. I think she's the person, the girl who did it. I think she sent it to one of my kids' fathers, and they maybe told my mother or showed my mother the picture. I knew it was a picture that was taken of me, because
Yeah.
that was the damn proof. Because you couldn't, like, I was functioning. I was bigger than I am now. Like, I'm smaller now in my sobriety, so no one knew. It was like, here, this is the proof.
Exactly. So, yeah. You had the same kind of effect I did, where it's not like we were emaciated, looking like drug addicts.
Right.
The functioning addict and the functioning alcoholic is sometimes the most dangerous one for themselves, because they can go on the longest.
Mm-hmm.
We're not homeless in the street. Nobody's walking by us saying, "Hey, you drug addict."
Right.
That's not happening. So, but the only thing is, the bigger we get on the outside, the more dead we are on the inside.
That is so true.
Because I lost 60 pounds when I got sober. I know what you mean. Like, I within the first 2 months, like, just from regular, I wasn't even doing anything crazy. I just wasn't doing drugs anymore.
And that's backwards. It's just like, now I have people looking at me like, damn, you small, like thinking I'm still doing it. I was bigger than.
Yeah, my before after is flopped compared to other people's. You know what I mean? We're like, wait, which one was your before? Usually when you get sober, you're the bigger one,
Right.
Like, I was like the Chris Farley opiate addict, where like I was just plump and gained weight whenever I was on drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Like Chris Farley from SNL, like every time he was on coke, he would gain weight. Every time he got bad on coke and dope, he was gaining weight. And every time he was clean and sober, he was skinnier and never skinny, but he was a smaller stature. Yeah, he was never skinny. But I love Chris. I grew up watching that man.
Hell
and idolize, like, because I do stand up and idolize, and stand up really started for improv. I did improv comedy before I did stand up comedy, and it was people like Chris Farley and growing up watching SNL that made me want to do improv. And then I did improv, and I was high on Xanax every single time. And then they did like this thing where they had us do stand up comedy one night. And after that, the instructor was like, "Hey, you're okay with the improv, but you should really tell stories and do stand up, because that is definitely where you thrive at, is with the mic and doing that." I said, "Okay, that's what I love anyway. It's my favorite thing to do." So I just focused on that from there on, and I just did that shit in addiction, and just, I went from writing stories to writing jokes, and now and then I got sober. It's like it was so hard for me. I had such a block for so long.
Oh my God, I thought I was the only one.
Because you write music, right? And yeah, it is such a block, but it's okay. That block is necessary.
Okay.
You need that block. Trust me. That block is not really a block. Um, how should I say this? People say it's a writer's block, but I think it's actually an opportunity to explore and to learn in order so you can write.
Okay.
Whenever I'm blocked, that is my sign that I need to go experience some shit
Mm-hmm.
to unlock.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
That is my sign that I've written all I've had to write for right now, and I need to go experience some life to learn some new shit to have something to write about. And then I'll draw some more inspiration. So don't ever think of it as people get so caught up in that block. And the way that our minds work, Vaughn, is like that we'll focus and we'll hyper focus on the block and not on how to fix the block.
Yep. That's
We'll
true.
spend 8 hours saying, I have writer's block, I have writer's block, I have writer's block, but not spend a minute thinking of how the fuck to get out of writer's block.
You are so right.
So, don't get caught up on the block. Get caught up on where you need to learn more in order to expand and grow into. That's how that's what I did. Like when I couldn't think to write any more comedy. So I got into doing podcasting. And now I can write jokes all the time. And now I can make people laugh all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't hear the laughter anymore. I get the laughter one-on-one, but I don't hear them laughing, watching the show at home or listening to the show at home. But that's okay, because I was never one that really enjoyed the spotlight anyway. I didn't want the direct applause because it made me feel uncomfortable. I just need to tell me, yeah, that was funny, man. Like that's all I needed to hear afterwards. Was, yeah, that was good. Like when I got married, it was in my living room, Vaughn. I didn't want a show. I didn't need a crowd.
That's so
sweet. But I didn't want a crowd. And if that doesn't show you of how much I felt about being on stage, I don't know what does.
Yeah.
But I love to make people laugh. And I love to show light in where our darkness is. And there's a shitload of darkness in where, I came from and where we came from.
Yeah.
And my family's an amazing family, and they're still together, and I'm grateful for my family every day. That's not my darkness. My darkness is right here.
There you go.
But there's so much light in my head though now, because it's the perspective of it. I don't look for darkness anymore. I look for light. And, anybody can do that any time of the day. Even with death, you can look at death, and grief and loss was my biggest trigger back in the day. And you can look at death and then you can internalize it and you can let it like put you in the ground too. Or you can look at death and say, oh, and celebrate it and be like, they're not in pain anymore. And I'm going to celebrate their life. But it's all about the perspective that starts here. Is I'm either going to celebrate their life, like when Betty White just died, right? I know, exactly. And Betty White died, you put on Golden Girls over the weekend and you celebrate that woman's life. Yeah. You don't mourn her. You don't mourn her. You celebrate that woman. 99 years, you celebrate her. You don't mourn her. Just because someone lived to be 20, you shouldn't get into your head about the mourning. You celebrate that 20 years. It's very easy to mourn. It's very easy to paint yourself in that dark. I lost my best friend. My best friend from suicide and my fiance. And I mourned her and I internalized and I took it personal for 3 years. And, in my addiction, I spun out. But now I celebrate her life. When I talk about her, it's to talk about her in a good way.
Right.
It's to give people some peace of mind that they're not alone. It's to give people peace of mind that they can make it through if they want. It's to give people peace of mind that, like, you don't have to do what she did, and we can make it out of this. Mental health does matter now. We
Yes,
are
it
we
does.
are we are going to listen to you. We are going to hear your story. 2015, mental health still didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say it, but when she passed, nobody was doing shit for mental health in 2015. And if you say, "Oh, no, they did," fuck you. No, they didn't. At least
Right.
in New Jersey, they didn't. And New
Mm-hmm.
Jersey was progressive, states when it comes to doing that kind of shit. And they weren't doing really anything yet because she was not getting the attention that she needed. And that is available today. There is a lot more
Mm-hmm.
available today. BetterHelp Therapy is a sponsor of the podcast where you can, get therapy online. It's like, for example, I need a therapist recently,
Mm-hmm.
and it was going to be a 4 month wait to see a therapist around here to be a
Mm-hmm.
new BetterHelp. You can see a therapist within 48 hours.
Really?
So, and on FaceTime. Yeah. So, that shit is a huge difference that you can see a therapist no matter where you are. And
Yeah.
so she didn't have that kind of availability in 2015. She was broken. So I can look back and I can be upset that we didn't have that technology to save her life. But no, we have this technology today because it was implemented because of people like her that
Right.
showed the reason we needed this.
Yes.
So I now will look at her death as it is helping others to live. She died so that next girl who's bipolar schizophrenic can live.
Mm-hmm.
Just like all the addicts that died before me, they died so I could learn lessons that I didn't want them to
Yep.
teach me, so I could live on.
That's
you know
true.
and that's how I have to look at that death. Now when you finally surrendered, did you go into a rehab?
Nope.
You did a cold turkey again, or did you go to
I'm cold
meetings?
turkey. Nope. I only have a sponsor.
Okay, but you have a
That's
sponsor
it.
this time.
I have a sponsor. I wrote a 10-step guide and I help 10 other people. But I still feel that I like, I wrote the guide, I go by the guide, but I meditate every day. I'm doing it different now, but I still feel that I need like more information so this won't happen again. I was clean for 5 years.
Yeah,
So
yeah, definitely. The biggest thing I would say and recommend this time, I mean, you didn't share your story in that first 5 years.
no.
This is the first time you've really shared your story, right?
Yes, it is.
So how do you feel now that you really kind of word vomitate your story for the first time?
I feel like a weight is left off of my chest. I really do.
And the more you talk about your story, the more that weight's going to lift more and more. That alone is going to keep you sober. Talking and connecting with people like myself and Tasha and other people's in the program
Mhm.
is how we stay sober.
Okay.
Meetings are important to me because it's that connection.
Mhm.
We have a great connection right now, and,
Mhm.
and we couldn't be any different, but we couldn't be more the same.
Right.
And that connection is based on our addictions. So when you go into a meeting, you meet 20, 30, 40 people just like me and you,
Right.
who know what you're thinking already because they already thought the same shit. You know,
Right. Yeah.
they already did the same shit most likely too, especially if you're in the
Yeah.
same area. You and I,
Mhm.
I'm in the Northeast and you're in the South. And
Yeah.
yet you still have the same kind of tendencies.
Yep.
Imagine people are in the same city as you. You're like going to the same block sometimes.
Yep.
Um, so I think the meetings could be really helpful for you because you're gonna meet a lot of cool people. Even I know Tasha goes, and
Yeah.
she could probably introduce you to some cool places around there. But there's there's a guy I talk to all the time on my show. He's been on a few times. He always says the opposite of addiction is connection.
Okay.
And is connecting with people all the time and finding ways to connect and all that kind of stuff. And you're so close. You're right there. But you're doing a 10-step guide.
Yeah.
So like about it, about the steps, and working the
Mhm.
steps is going to be huge. Like I said earlier, when I relapsed with drinking, I didn't go overboard because of the steps.
Right.
So definitely look into that. I think that could be really helpful for you.
Okay.
You don't drugs aren't going anywhere. They're getting
They're
stronger.
not.
That's
Yep.
proof. That is fentanyl is proof. Oxy is proof. Look
Yeah.
at morphine 100 years ago and then look at oxy in the 90s and look at fentanyl today. and tell me that drugs don't improve over time.
That shit is scary.
So all you can do is work on you because that
Right.
shit's not going anywhere. They're going to
Okay.
figure out how to make it more powerful, more potent, more addictive, whatever the fuck.
That's
All
true.
you can do is figure out the whys, the wheres, the hows, all that shit. And you will find that in meetings and you will find that in steps. You'll find that in therapy, but talk. If you keep it in your head and just pretend like it never happened and then you just avoid it, it's
Yeah.
going to come back so much worse again. You think this last run was bad, that next one will be even worse.
Right.
So, yeah, it's that connection. So, but either way, you did something today for the first time that you had never done.
Yes.
And I'm so glad you picked me to tell your story. I appreciate that shit so much. And there's gonna be a lot of people that are watching or listening that go, "That's me. I know who that
Yeah.
girl. That I did that too." Or or they might have known you, or they might not. They might have known you, but not this.
Right.
And now they're gonna understand you more.
Yeah. I'm glad I
Empathy.
got it off my chest though.
Yeah. So I hope it wasn't too hard. And, we had some fun. We had some laughs. So
Yeah, I loved
uh,
it. It was cool.
I appreciate you sitting down, taking some time, and chatting with me. And I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
All right.